What's going on, everybody? Liam O'Reilly, Vermont Economic Realtor. Hope you're doing well. Coming to you today from my living room, the office that I work in. The heat is out and it is -3 degrees, I think, right now in Vermont. The coldest I saw it get was -17 or -18. It's ridiculously cold here. The office isn't that cold, but it's still 57 degrees and is too cold for me to record. So I'm here in my living room talking to you today about debt. And the U.S. government debt, the credit card debt that U.S. consumers are in, and what that means for the housing market, what that means for the economy. So, if you haven't heard, U.S. The U.S. government just hit its debt ceiling, so they can no longer borrow money to pay for the things, the obligations that they've already committed to, the social security benefits, the military pay, police pay, things like that, as well as interest on the debt that they've already borrowed, interest on the U.S. Treasury payments. So they've hit their debt and their debt limit. Now, this is from the U.S. Treasury website, talking about what the debt limit is, but what I wanted to highlight is down here. Since 1960, Congress has acted 79 separate times to permanently raise, temporarily extend, or revise the definition of the debt limit. 49 times under Republican presidents, 29 times under Democratic presidents. So essentially arguing that the debt limit is going to eventually be extended, as it has 78 times before, and the U.S. will be able to borrow more money to pay for the things that it produces. Why is this an issue, and how does this affect real estate? So if you think about what money is, how I understand money is that it is a way to identify or describe your contribution to society, right? If you think about a pizza place, if you sell, the more pizzas you sell, the more people that come to your restaurant because you have better pizzas and offer to give you money, the more money that you are going to have as a business person. And in simple terms, I mean, there's many complications that go into that, but in the simplest terms, that's the way that money works, right? Instead of trading the pizzas that you made for, let's say, a sandwich or a cow to get your milk, you trade it for money, and then somebody else who owns cows or who has a dairy farm will make their own milk, and then you give them the money that you earn from providing pizza to the greater society and use that to pay for your milk or your whatever you need. So if that's what money is, then what debt is debt is borrowing against the future production that you will have, right? So if you take out a credit card loan and you say, like, hey, I don't have this $1,000 to buy this nice pair of shoes or to buy my groceries or to pay my rent this month, but I'm going to be working and I'll make $1,000 and I'll have that to you by next month. Then what you're doing is you're borrowing against the future contribution that you are giving to society, right? Your work is your contribution to society, whatever you do. I'm a real estate agent, so my work is understanding the market, helping people buy and sell homes. My girlfriend works at a clothing store as a salesman and a manager there, and her job is, selling clothes and providing people with the right outfits, things like that. And that's the contribution that she brings to society. And you get compensated through money as a result of that. And so now when you have debt and you borrow against that future production, at a certain point you have to pay that debt back. And essentially what the U.S. government is doing is they are extending that credit card loan. They are saying, oh, we've maxed out our credit card. We got to get a higher limit so we can keep paying our debt, so we can keep paying the interest on the loans that we've already accrued, and so that we can keep these obligations that we've agreed to going. While at the same time, the U.S. economy and the production, the revenue that the U.S. government is getting through taxes are, they're operating at a deficit. So we need to borrow money in order to pay off our debts, and in order to provide the obligations that we've already agreed to through, like I mentioned before, interest payments on U.S. Treasuries, Social Security, military benefits, all these great things that the government provides to us, we don't take the U.S. government doesn't take in enough tax revenue to pay for all of those things. So we need to borrow money. We need to increase our credit card limit so we can keep paying for that. But eventually, we are going to have to start paying that limit down. Eventually, the production that we provide the world is going to have to increase and exceed the amount of production that we take from the world, or the amount of money that we spend. The money that we make is going to have to, the money that is paid in taxes is going to have to exceed the money that we spend, because we owe debt on the spending that we've already done, and we need to start paying that down. So that is essentially how I see the debt limit. As far as what's happened in the past, what's happened to societies in the past that have reached this point, I think that's where we get into the Cantillon effect. I have right here the Essay of Economic Theory by Richard Cantillon, who was a businessman in the mid 1700s in France, and he, it's more of a philosophical text. I got called out in the comment section of ancient, or not, maybe not ancient, but older economic teachings versus newer economic teachings that incorporate things like statistics, and there's just much more data to go off of, where Cantillon was much more theoretical, and it wasn't as data driven. It was more observationally driven compared to data driven. But I do still think there's valuable lessons to take out of that, and I think there are striking similarities between the observations that Cantillon observed and what is happening in society right now. So what does Cantillon say? Essentially, the US government is, we've driven ourselves into luxuries, right? We have a very luxurious lifestyle right now with things like Medicare and Social Security, all the money that we spend on our military, things like this. This is a big luxury that we have, and the reason that we have them is because of the debt that we are accruing, right? And that we continue to accrue, that we've hit the debt limit, and we're probably going to extend in the future, but eventually we're going to have to pay that back. And so what's happened in the past? I found this this little segment here that I just wanted to read to you folks about what Cantillon says regarding Rome and what happened what happened in the past to the Roman Empire. It says here, money was then so scarce in Rome that the emperor collected enormous quantities of wheat, being unable to collect enough tax money for his enterprises. Right? We have a much more divided government right now compared to a single emperor. I mean, we still have the president, but we have our system of checks and balances, and we have a lot more people keeping the president in check, as opposed to just a single emperor like there was in Rome. And it says right here, thus the Roman emperor declined through the loss of its money before losing any of its estates. This is what luxury brought about, and what it always will bring about in similar circumstances. Right? If you're in luxury and you can't cut down on your spending and become fiscally responsible, eventually you're spending more than your society is producing, which I think is what is happening in America, and what Cantillon argues happened in Rome, and eventually, causes the decline of the state. So as far as what's going to happen with the debt limit and what is going to happen as we progress here in society, I really think the best options for the U.S. government is to cut down on spending and to start spending less than we produce. I don't think anybody wants to pay more taxes. I mean, I know I certainly don't want to pay more taxes. I pay plenty of taxes. It feels like I pay a lot for what I get from the government. And I mean, but at the end of the day, the government either needs to, charge more and tax its citizens more, or it needs to cut down on its spending and shrink the size of the government that we have, and maybe trim the fat of some of the luxuries that we have. Now, bouncing off of that and into Cantillon, again, I found this other statement from Cantillon, excuse me, that I wanted to bring up to you folks in regards to real estate, which I thought was very interesting. It says right here in chapter 2, the first the first sentence is here. Whichever way a society of men is formed, the ownership of land they inhabit will necessarily belong to a excuse me, a small number among them. So essentially what he's saying is no matter what, no matter which way a society is formed, the landowners are going to be less than the general population. And I think this is something that we're seeing play out in America right now. And with the debt that the U.S. government is taking on, with the credit card debt that we've talked about in other videos, if you folks don't know, I'll just show it real quick. The Fred consumer debt chart, how it's reaching all-time highs and increasing at a rate faster than we've seen in recent years, which is in my mind, a little concerning for the situation of the U.S. government and the U.S. economy. But at the end of the day, what Cantillon observed back in the day, as far as the landowners will be, generally speaking, a smaller number of the overall population. At the end of the day, land is a scarce resource, and if we're coming into a downturn in the economy and in U.S. debts, it's really a personal decision of where you want to put your money. If you want to put your money in the scarce resource of land, or you put your money into stocks and gold and silver, or you want to just hold U.S. dollars. At the end of the day, it's tough to know what is going to work out best for you as a consumer. But at the end of the day, land is a scarce resource that is in demand. And in my mind, I mean, it's where I'm putting my money, and I think with uncertain times ahead, it's a pretty reasonable place to at least consider putting your money, especially in the right markets, which I certainly believe in the Vermont market, but I'm sure there's many other great markets across the country. Anyway, Liam O'Reilly, Vermont Economic Realtor. If you are looking to purchase or sell a home here in Vermont, I would be happy to help you. All my contact information is listed in the description. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about Cantillon and his theory on economics. I thought that those two lines in particular stuck out to me. I read the whole essay, and I just kind of was sifting through it today and saw those. Wanted to share it with you folks. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Other than that, stay warm. If you're in the Vermont area, it's freezing right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.